The tension was palpable the moment Denzel Washington sat down across from Stephen Colbert on live television, an appearance that was supposed to be lighthearted and promotional but quickly descended into a charged clash that no one in the studio, audience, nor the millions watching at home could have anticipated. As Colbert steered the conversation into territory that touched on politics, culture, and Hollywood controversies, pressing Washington with pointed questions that carried an edge of provocation, questions that Denzel, known for his candor and commanding presence, refused to let pass unchallenged, and with every exchange the temperature of the room seemed to rise, the audience caught between bursts of awkward laughter and stunned silence as both men grew sharper in tone, until Washington, visibly frustrated, yet maintaining his dignity, leaned forward and firmly expressed that he would not allow his words to be twisted or misrepresented, drawing applause from some and gasps from others. And as Colbert tried to rein the discussion back into humor, Washington's refusal to play along became more evident, his frustration mounting with every attempt to redirect the narrative until, finally, after one particularly cutting remark, he calmly removed his microphone, stood up, and walked off the stage despite Colbert's attempts to stop him, leaving the studio in shock and sparking an immediate firestorm online as clips circulated across platforms, with fans and critics alike dissecting every word, every gesture, debating whether Colbert had gone too far or whether Washington had overreacted, while behind the scenes producers scrambled to control the fallout, the moment already cemented as one of the most unforgettable live television confrontations in recent memory. A clash that revealed not only the volatility of unscripted dialogue, but also the power of one man's refusal to compromise his principles, even under the blinding lights of late-night television. In the aftermath of Denzel Washington's abrupt exit, the studio descended into an unusual mixture of silence and murmurs, as Stephen Colbert attempted to recover the show's rhythm with a quip that fell flat, his trademark wit suddenly weighed down by the enormity of what had just happened. And within minutes, social media lit up with hashtags like #DenzelWalksOff and #ColbertClash, igniting a digital firestorm as millions debated the explosive exchange, in real time dissecting body language, tone, and intent, while fans of Washington applauded his refusal to let himself be cornered and others defended. Colbert's role as a late-night host tasked with challenging his guests, creating a cultural flashpoint that dominated headlines, podcasts, and talk radio for days, with entertainment journalists speculating on whether the clash would damage Washington's pristine public reputation or whether Colbert's probing style had finally crossed an invisible line. Yet what few saw were the behind-the-scenes efforts by producers frantically contacting Washington's team in an attempt to mend fences and salvage relationships, as sponsors grew nervous and network executives demanded answers, while Washington himself remained largely silent, releasing only a brief statement insisting that integrity and respect mattered more to him than applause, a sentiment that resonated deeply with fans and fueled admiration for his unwavering stance, as pundits noted that the confrontation symbolized larger cultural divides, with late-night comedy increasingly bleeding into political commentary and celebrities being forced into debates they never intended to have. And as days turned to weeks, the moment crystallized into pop culture lore, replayed endlessly on YouTube, TikTok, and late-night rival shows, each replay reminding audiences of the sheer gravity of a star like Denzel Washington choosing to walk away rather than compromise. A decision that not only rattled Colbert's usually effortless control of his stage, but also reinforced Washington's reputation as a man of principle, leaving behind an indelible memory that continues to echo as one of the boldest live television walk-offs of the era. In the days following Denzel Washington's walk-off from The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, the story refused to fade from the spotlight, snowballing into a national debate that stretched beyond late-night television into politics, culture, and the very question of celebrity autonomy in the media landscape, as major outlets like CNN, Fox News, and the New York Times covered the incident with vastly different tones, some framing Washington as a hero who defended dignity against an aggressive host, while others suggested he overreacted and missed an opportunity for dialogue. fueling endless arguments across dinner tables and social media feeds. With memes flooding Instagram portraying Washington as a modern-day gladiator walking away from a rigged arena, while TikTok creators remix the walk-off into trending sounds and reaction skits, effectively turning a moment of tension into a wave of internet entertainment. Yet beneath the humor was a serious conversation about power dynamics between Hollywood figures and television hosts, with critics asking whether late night has devolved into gotcha journalism dressed up as comedy, while insiders whispered that Colbert himself was privately furious, feeling his authority undermined by a guest refusing to play along, though producers urged him to pivot quickly to protect the brand, leading to an unusually humble monologue in which Colbert acknowledged the exchange but framed it as two passionate men with different approaches to truth, a careful balancing act meant to soothe fans and sponsors alike. While Washington, in stark contrast, refused further media appearances, choosing instead to let silence speak louder than explanations, a choice that only amplified his mystique and deepened the sense that he had drawn a line few dared to cross in live TV culture. And as entertainment scholars and late-night historians later reflected, the walk-off was more than just a viral incident. It was a crack in the facade of scripted civility, exposing the raw reality that even the most carefully controlled platforms could combust when conviction collided with comedy, leaving a cultural scar that audiences would revisit for years as both a cautionary tale and a testament to the enduring power of live, unscripted drama. Months after Denzel Washington's dramatic walk-off from The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, the ripple effects were still being felt across Hollywood, late-night television, and even political arenas, as the incident became a case study in media schools and PR seminars about how one moment of defiance could rewrite the narrative of celebrity host dynamics, with producers at rival shows quietly tightening their pre-interview processes to ensure that no guest would put them in a similar situation, while agents began negotiating clauses that gave stars more leeway to walk out without breach of contract penalties, a move that infuriated networks but emboldened talent, creating a shift in the balance of power rarely seen in the entertainment industry. And as Colbert struggled to regain footing, masking his frustration behind humor but privately voicing concern to CBS executives that the moment had weakened his perceived control, other hosts like Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon began leaning into softer, more playful interviews, aware that pushing too far could risk another high-profile implosion. But ironically, it was Washington's silence that gave the incident its lasting potency, as he never apologized, never clarified, and never returned to late night instead, letting the image of his walk-off stand as both protest and prophecy, and that very absence made the clash more than just a headline. It became an inflection point in how audiences viewed celebrity authenticity, with younger viewers in particular praising Washington for refusing to bend to the manufactured conflict formula, while older critics debated whether his refusal to engage was an abdication of responsibility to confront hard questions. And beyond Hollywood, politicians began referencing the walk-off metaphorically in speeches, calling their own refusals to engage in hostile debates their Denzel moment, further embedding the incident into cultural shorthand. And by the time retrospectives aired on major networks 1 year later, the story was no longer about whether Washington or Colbert was right, but about how a single, unplanned moment shattered the illusion that late-night hosts held all the cards, proving instead that guests, too, could seize control of the narrative and walk away, leaving behind a silence louder than any punchline and cementing Denzel Washington's legacy not only as one of the greatest actors of his generation but as an icon of self-respect who reminded the world that dignity, even under the bright lights of live television, was never negotiable.